On today's show, the Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs. I'm Shaun Cole, this is the Simpit, and these are the Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs. They are a professional grade sim racing pedal, and they have all the features that one would expect of high-end pedals. So what makes pedals professional? Well, it could be being built of all finely CNC machined aluminum that is cut into elegant shapes that are built for strength and are nearly indestructible. Well, that would be a good starting point. We would also demand of professional pedals that they be ultra smooth and friction free. The Simtrecs pedals are smooth indeed, and this is accomplished by using actual ball bearings at each pivot point. This achieves silky smooth movement of the pedals and is an area that separates these pedals from their counterparts. And what could be more professional than meeting or exceeding the real-life pressure of a real race car with a 200-kilogram load cell? Yes, the vigors of real-life forces. Another feature that separates amateurs from professionals would be in the setup, or the ability to do so. A novice might be content with the amount of throw the stock pedal set comes with, but a professional is going to want to dial in every aspect to exactly the way they want it to be, and the Simtrecs pedals allow you to tune and dial in just about every movement and action on them. These are just some of the features that make the Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs professional grade pedals, and it could also be the lofty price tag, because at €1,045 or 1133 US bucks, it's going to set you back quite a bit. Simtrecs are out of Budapest, Hungary by the Cerruti family, who have a history in real-life racing and multiple championships, and then into RC racing with multiple championships there as well, and then into producing their own championship-winning cars, and then finally into making the Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs. And you can even see some of that RC influence in their pedals. This also means that Simtrecs has a great history in designing, producing, and most of all, winning. Now, one thing you'll notice about the Pro Pedal GTs right off the bat is there are no corners cut or no expenses cut in building these pedals. They are made of the highest quality parts. This even starts with the box and packaging, and honestly, that is where my excitement began. Inside the boldly printed box is a foam top insert and the instruction manual that is by far the clearest and most thorough that I've ever seen, and it's even in full color. All of the contents of the package are nicely tucked away in their cutouts, and included with the pedals are all of the needed wires, including a grounding cable, extra oil for the dampers, and grease for maintenance. They also come with an assortment of different elastomers, spacers, and a spring for tuning the pedals, as well as all of the needed hardware for mounting, along with some tools. Wow, even the tools are professional grade. These are not just throwaway tools like most gear that we buy comes with. And then finally, the pedals themselves. Holy cow, these are gorgeous, and they look like some sort of technology out of a space-age movie. They are brilliant, they are beautiful, and I can't wait to get them under my feet. When I'm driving a race car or a sim rig, I can tell you exactly what I want each pedal to do independently, exactly how I want it to move, how far I want it to move, and exactly how much pressure it should be in a perfect world. Luckily in sim rigs we have that luxury. On the throttle pedal, I need it to be very smooth in its movement without being sloppy. We talked about the ball bearings at each pivot point. Well, in the case of the throttle pedal, that translates into not only friction-free smooth movement from start to finish, but also doing so with zero play and zero wiggle. The pedal's adjustments allow you to get the pedal right where you want it for foot resting position and angle. It is also during these adjustments that we are reminded of the quality of the parts and the tools that come with Pro Pedal GTs. The tools fit snugly, and even the bolts and nuts used are high quality to prevent stripping or wear. You can adjust the throttle curve and the force of its pressure. I mean, when you're running a long endurance race, you don't want to wear out your right leg. You can lighten up that spring to your desire. Or maybe you're a little heavy on the throttle and just need to slow down that action to prevent spinning coming off of corners. Well, you can just dial in more pressure to the point stronger than I would even recommend. The overall resistance is a combination of that spring with its adjusted preload combined with the damper. This allows the throttle pedal to be very responsive without that diving board feeling of a spring-only setup on the gas pedal. While some people tell you the throttle pedal is the fun pedal, I will tell you that the brake pedal is actually the most important of the three pedals when it comes to racing. It is the one responsible for fastest lap times and is the one that is going to keep you safest on track and hopefully finishing races. The brake pedal on the Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs is as much as one could ask for from the brake. It utilizes the same ball bearing mechanism as the throttle, so yeah, it's very smooth and its action does that with zero play or wiggle. Except this time, it's doing it while fighting against a 200 kilogram load cell. 200 kilograms is a very strong brake pedal. I dare say gorilla strength and would wear out many drivers. But thanks to the adjustments of the pedals, you don't have to fight against all of it. The Pro Pedal GTs come with a tuning kit, so to speak. These are 12 different elastomers in a variety of thicknesses and durometers and spacers that will restrict the overall travel to allow you to adjust the pedal's feel. By changing out these stacks, you can control the force and the amount of pedal travel needed to hit full braking. These pedals also have a built-in force dial that can be used with those physical changes combined to give you the exact force you want. In the end, this adjustability gives you everything from a short throw with high or low pressure all the way out to long throws with high or low pressure and then everything in between. This is the kind of dialing in that I demand of a pro-grade pedal set, and it translates into a pedal that operates without thought. Tuned to your desires, operating the brake becomes second nature. And then to prevent the pedal from being too springy, as a load cell and elastomers are essentially like springs, there is also a damper on the brake pedal's movement as well. This can be adjusted to give more or less damping as desired. The end result can be game-changing. I think one of the biggest differences between amateur and pro drivers is most exposed while braking. We, the driver, need to be the ABS of the car at times. We must maintain threshold braking levels without lockup for best braking, and we must ease off that level all the way to apex. This requires 1,000 nanometer adjustments in a very small amount of time. In the case of the Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs, and being able to adjust the pedal not only in strength, but also in distance, allows us to make those nano adjustments oh so quickly. It opens the door to effective trail braking and keeping that nose gripping the ground without too much pressure and causing the opposite results. I do call the clutch pedal the third pedal, and if you follow this show, you know I personally have a love-hate relationship with the clutch pedal. But the clutch pedal, I do need it to be a little bit springy when compared to its two counterparts. But it can't feel like a pogo stick either. At the pro level, I expect a decent fall-off point and a return with a little more oomph than the throttle pedal has. Simtrecs has an answer to all of those needs. It starts with that same extremely smooth action with no play or wiggle thanks to the ball bearing. And I keep coming back to that because it is so noticeably different from many pedals. The pedal then has two springs to choose from to adjust the overall force or pressure required to move the clutch pedal. That pressure can then be adjusted in smaller increments by adjusting its preload. It is also accompanied by an adjustable damper in a combination that is similar to the gas pedal's operation. But on the back end, the action on the pedal is activating a swing arm cam action that then, at about 2/3 the way through the travel, it falls off or gets easy to push through as that lever turns. Upon release, that cam action is the first thing to move, giving a bit of acceleration or that oomph I was talking about coming back at you. That is all mimicking a real-life clutch's action. When putting this together with the other pedals out on track and then matching that with an H-pattern shifter, it translates into that real in-the-car feeling. If you ever wanted to get the feeling of being in sync with a sim car, It is done best with an H pattern and clutching for shifts. It requires timing on a different level that gets you that much closer to being at one with the car. Overall, I would say that the clutch worked very well and is probably equal to a lot of other high-end clutches out there in performance. Well, if you're going to make a set of pedals and you're going to call them professional grade, as Simtrecs has done, well, you'd better think of everything, and that includes mounting the pedals. The pedals are designed to be bolted down to any flat surface. Each pedal can then be independently set at different angles, even if your rig doesn't have an adjustable pedal plate. Another option is their additional base plate that costs €140 or about 150 bucks. This base plate is super strong and made entirely of metal. It also has a very rigid heel plate that is adjustable in height and angle. It allows the pedals to be mounted with any kind of left to right spacing that you would want, with each mount giving you 15 millimeters of front to back, which gives you plenty of room to stagger the gas for best heel-toe driving. We can also adjust the pedal faces on the clutch and the brake up and down 16 millimeters in 3 different positions. The elongated gas pedal is machined into the pedal arm, therefore it is not adjustable, but it is plenty long enough that you wouldn't need to anyway. Once each pedal is mounted to your rig or the base plate, the clutch and the brake both plug into the back of the gas pedal with a speaker jack type plug. This looks slick, and so does the speaker type plug that converts into a USB that goes from the pedals to your computer. When putting the pedals set together, I was once again reminded of the overall quality of the Simtrecs. The metal is so nicely machined that all of the edges are smooth. Every bolt is a high-end bolt, not just some random bulk bin bolt, and even the wires, the tools, and the instructions feel of the highest quality. Once plugged in, you'll use the Smart Drive software, which is available at their website, to configure the pedals. It's very easy to operate and allows you to properly set the start and end points of the pedals and add any curves that you might like to have on them. I did use the Simtrecs base plate for all of my testing with the Pro Pedal GTs mounted to them. This would go on my RC P1 chassis, which has a very strong pedal plate, but I did have to drill 4 holes to mount the base plate to the rig. But with it mounted up, we can take all of those thoughts of each pedal independently and now put them together for the sum of all the parts. For me, driving is about focus and thinking only of your immediate task at hand of braking points, apexes, and maximizing speed. Anything out of place or anything that distracts us from that can literally make us slower. This starts with our equipment. I know that when I don't think about my equipment, I'm a better driver. When a pedal squeaks, it can be distracting or even annoy me, and yes, cost me time. The Simtrecs are silent in their operation, except when hitting the racy feeling metal end stops for the clutch and gas, which is to be expected. When a pedal has too much free play or wiggles too much, it actually adjusts the way the pedal feels depending on where your foot presses on the pedal. It can take away a certain amount of precision or consistency in your braking. The high precision machining and the ball bearings make these the most wiggle-free and at the same time friction-free pedals that I have ever tested. For the most part, we have little experience in the sim cars we drive or how their brake pedal in particular should feel, but we likely have a preconceived notion of what it might be. If we can make our pedals feel as much like we expect it to feel or how it should act, then we can operate it that much better. It allows for a quicker and more accurate muscle memory at the most important times while driving. With the nearly endless combinations of not only strength, but also variability as well as length adjustments that the Pro Pedal GTs have, you will be able to match the pedals to our expected feeling. This makes for intuitive braking, allowing you to just get more out of the car and more out of you as a driver. In the end, I would drive for hours on end with my pedals being a non-thought while driving. And as out of mind as that sounds, I mean it in the best of ways. Coming off the corners, the throttle allowed for great pedal action to match the car's RPMs and grip to the moment. steering the car off the corners and maximizing launches onto the straights. The brake pedal performs just as you might expect, brilliantly. Sometimes braking feels a bit like balancing two forces, with your foot quickly moving a pendulum forward and backward to maintain balance. To maintain that balance. And with the combination of smoothness and the dialed-in amount of pressure makes that tightrope walk that much easier with the Simtrecs pedals. When heel-toe driving, it does kind of up the ante when it comes to the driver requirements. I will always be better when I can stagger my gas pedal just far enough back to match the brake pedal at threshold pressure. It then just makes it a simple blip on the right on that long gas pedal to match my revs and get seamless shifts. Meanwhile, the clutch is fast acting and gets us right back into that power. The Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs perform very well under any and every circumstance that I threw at them. Out of the box, the Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs just worked great. I didn't do a thing to them. I just put them together, put them on my rig, and everything worked out fantastic. Now with that said, as I got used to them, I did want to make a few adjustments to get them perfectly dialed in for me, which was a really fun experience and really easy to do. I did go to a much stronger brake pedal combination. In fact, I went to the strongest just to see how it felt, and it felt great. The pedal's forces gave me great modulation with very little foot movement, just balancing on that pedal as I needed. And despite the much heavier load on the pedal, the Simtrecs were built to handle it. No different flex, no wiggle, still as strong and solid as they could be. I also lightened up the preload on the throttle and made it just a little tiny bit easier to push and adjusted the final spacing just how I like it. That is the beauty of Simtrecs. You get them dialed to perfection. These aren't just pretty pedals, they are extremely well thought out. Well, what a great experience it has been testing the Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs. I mean, I have so many great things to say about it. I think it's pretty obvious if you really listen to what I talked about them. But to make it perfectly clear, let's go ahead and break it down with the good, the not so good, and the bottom line, starting off with the good, and that being they're great looking pedals. Super strong. Great construction. Highly adjustable, highly tunable, absolutely no wiggle or flex, best instructions ever, friction-free, very smooth operation, very nice finish and construction, easy software, no wear-in period, kept their adjustments perfectly. And now on to the not so good. Well, I have to admit, these are some expensive pedals. We'll need to drill holes for mounting. Only sold as a 3-pedal set. And now on to the bottom line. The Simtrecs Pro Pedal GTs just got better and better and better with every experience from it. It started when I saw them at Sim Expo. I thought they were gorgeous. And then when I went to their website, and every piece of information, every question you could possibly have about them is there at their website. You almost don't even need this review. There is so much information there. And then when I got them in my hands and I felt the quality of the pedals, the quality of everything that's behind the Simtrecs just makes them a rather amazing set of pedals. And then when under my feet, it went from better and better to outright fantastic. The pedals are so smooth in their movement and so friction or wiggle free at the same time in a way that I have just never felt before. And to make that even better, they are built to last and they feel indestructible. When looking at the not so good, let's starting off with the fact that they are expensive. You know, if you're new to sim racing, I can see that you might perceive these as being expensive pedals because they are. You might buy an entire kit that is less money than this pedal set. But if you've been around sim racing a little while, or if you really inspect these pedals, when you start talking about every nut, every bolt, every spring, every part that makes the Simtrecs pedals is of the highest quality, it starts adding up very quickly, and it's a well-justified price, and it's right in line with their competition. The next thing on the not so good list was the drilling of the holes, and this is almost like the previous one where we talk about if you're new to sim racing, it might seem weird that your rig didn't come ready for a set of pedals. However, once you get into the high-end pedal market, they are all unique in their design and their construction, and it means it is very likely that you're going to have to drill holes into your rig. So even though I labeled that as something that you'd need to do or put it on the not so good list, it is quite normal. And the last thing on the not so good list was the fact that it's only being sold as a 3-pedal set. So for left foot breakers out there who don't need the clutch pedal, or for those who would like to see a less expensive model, a 2-pedal set would obviously cost less money and make it available to more sim racers. And the good news is I talked to Gaber at Simtrecs and they are working on this. It'll require different spacing. It'll require different pedal faces perhaps. So it's something you're going to have to work on, but you can expect it next quarter or the quarter after. So in the beginning, I fell in love with the way these pedals looked and their quality and their finish and all of that. But in the end, I was most impressed with the way they worked and the way they performed out on track. And now that we're at the end of this review, I can tell you, these are my favorite load cell pedals that I have ever tested. I absolutely love them. They are fantastic. So I'd like to thank Simtrecs for sending these pedals for review. You can go to their website, simtrecs.com, and see all the amazing information and detail about these pedals, and it shows you the quality you're going to get from start to finish. So I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can find out when our next video comes out. And most of all, thank you for watching. This is the Simpit. I'm Shaun Cole, and I'll see you on the track.